For someone whose entire career has been focused on joy, why a podcast on pain? Because these stories need to be told. A good phoenix rising out of the ashes story reminds us all that not only can we survive, we can thrive. And when we emerge, we're different. That's the alchemy of pain. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Alchemy of Pain podcast. We talk to people who have been through some tough stuff, maybe some stuff that you've been through or are going through, and how they coped, what they learned, and oftentimes it has produced something in them that's beautiful, that helps the world in some way. I don't know if you've ever loved and lost a pet, but if you have, this episode is for you. And before we go any further, I just want to share with you, this is my girl, Shasta. Shasta was my faithful companion for 17 years, and she saw me through the darkest times in my life. And after, you all know, my Mark passed away, having her in my life forced me to get up every day. She needed me, and it helped me survive to feel needed. Just as I was about to move to California, it was almost like she said, "Mommy, my journey's done, and you're going to take this leg without me." And I miss her every day. I say that as a preamble because I can't help but pet every dog I see. And then when I went to the La Jolla Farmers Market and I saw this energetic, wonderful man who had puppy dogs all around him, I'm like, I want to be his friend. Ron Wittman, it is so nice to have you here today.
Hi, Brenda. It's so great to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
It's a pleasure. And this is our first time really chatting outside of the farmers market, but our path has been one of, "Hey, how you doing?" And then when I was babysitting a puppy dog, I bought some of your treats, which we will talk about. But recently, I felt a dip in your energy, and I asked what was up, and you had suffered a loss. Why don't you tell me about the pet you loved that you recently lost?
Yeah, I hope I can do this without crying because it's still pretty fresh. It just happened in January. His name was Rafa. He was a French bulldog. So I have two French bulldogs, Rafa and Roddick, which are actually on the wall behind me. So this is Rafa.
Oh,
Um, yeah, he was 9 years old. He had a tumor on his spleen, and so he had his spleen taken out in October. He was really great after that for a few months, and I thought he was back to normal, even better than normal. But in January of this year, he started to not eat, and he started to be a little more um, just laying around the house a little bit more, not so energetic. And so I took him to the vet, and the vet told me, didn't the hospital contact you? Because he has cancer and he
oh,
only has a few days left to live. So this came out of left field completely, totally unexpected, had no idea. Um, hadn't heard from the hospital when after they removed his spleen that the biopsy that they took came back cancerous. They had told me if I didn't hear anything, that no news was good news. So that was the assumption I was going under, but yeah, so and he had to have a blood transfusion right away. Um, so I took him back to the hospital for that and then got him home. And finding out that he only had a few more days left
oh,
was heartbreaking to say the least.
yeah.
Um, and so I just kind of left it up to him to give me a signal of when it seemed as if he would be ready. And so the next, and he wasn't eating either. And one of his favorite foods, though not a treat, um, just very occasional, was French fries. And so I even got him French fries, and he didn't even want a French fry. So I think it was that night I brought him home from the hospital after his blood transfusion that he gave me the signal, and I could just tell that it was time. And so I was fortunate that I was able to have it done here at home. He was in my arms.
Hmm.
Um, it was horrible,
Yeah.
as you can imagine, as you know. But I guess I'm just lucky or grateful that I didn't have to come home and find him, or that he didn't have to go through it alone. And it was almost as if he knew, with him in my arms, of what was about to happen, and he really gave into it. It just, because it was so unexpected, and my two boys, they're kids to me. They're my children.
Hmm.
Um, to have that just happen is just has taken a piece of me that just I haven't discovered on how to get it back yet. I don't think I will.
Yeah. Yeah. And I respect that. And I want to honor the fact that it's still fresh and it hurts. And I can almost feel everybody listening right now to this recording who can relate is feeling it too. And we're with you. I remember I gave you a big hug when I found out, because this was your companion who was always at your stand at the farmer's market and inspired your work.
Yeah, Rafa, and his brother Roddick. Roddick is now 7. Roddick was 9 when he passed. Both of them really inspired my company, Squishy Face and Co. Right here, which makes homemade healthy dog treats. All of the treats are made with food that's fresh and all healthy ingredients for dogs, all human food. Um, and there aren't any preservatives, there aren't any fillers. I liken it to having a muffin from a bakery, but for dogs. So they're meant to be consumed and to spoil the dog, as much as possible. But the whole company started based out of well, two things. First, the two boys didn't do well with mass produced commercial treats. If we went to a pet boutique and they got a treat from behind the counter, it would come back up in the car. So
Which
anything
is
that was
not fun for mom or dad. It's
not fun,
like, in the moment they gobble it down and we're like, oh, yay, they got a treat. And then it's like, oh no, I've got to clean this up. This is not fun.
right? And French bulldogs have digestive issues anyway. So the recipes came out of a need to satisfy their need for treats, but also doing it in a very healthy, clean ingredient way with limited ingredients. And again, they're all made fresh. They're baked fresh every week.
Wait, now did you have a background as a baker?
No, actually. My background was for 12 years, I was a fundraiser. So I worked in nonprofits. And the whole company itself came out of an experience of pain itself. And what had happened was 2016, after dealing with my mom's Alzheimer's, she passed. 2016 was such a banner year for everybody, right? But my mom also had passed that summer. And at the holidays of 2016, would start to lose my voice after about a 5-minute conversation with someone. Not great for a fundraiser, right? So I went to an ENT who said it was a cyst on my vocal cords and that he could operate and get it removed, no problem, but that he would probably do a biopsy just to be on the safe side. Well, that biopsy came back cancerous. So I was in a very early stage of cancer on my vocal cords, and getting that diagnosis again, a shock, not expected at all. Especially when something was done out of a precaution and it came back cancerous. So I wasn't really thrilled with my career at that point. I mean, it had been 12 years. I was looking for something new. I was looking to start my own business. And after the experience of going through the cancer and cancer treatments, which included localized radiation right on my throat, 5 days a week for 6 weeks. I had multiple surgeries after that to clear up some scar tissue. There was a point where the radiation had effects long after uh, I was finished. And it got to a point where I actually couldn't speak. I lost my voice completely. Um, it was beyond rhapsody. It would be a whisper. And so I would stop going out to restaurants. I would stop hanging out with friends because I couldn't be in a public place and vocalize anything because um, the volume of my voice just was not there.
Ron, I mean, aside from the physical challenge, the emotional and mental
Mhm.
challenge of all of that, and yet what was birthed on the other side is something really beautiful. It's so tell me the progression. How did you get through that challenging time? And how did you come out on the other side with this remarkable business that you created?
I came. I looking back now, it's very easy to say I came through it with digging in and having some self reliance and self determination. It's kind of weird because when I got told about my diagnosis, I just clicked into this mindset of you got this, you can do this, and nothing is going to stop you. And that's exactly how I approached it. I didn't throw myself on a bed and start crying or anything. I just was really like, okay, they caught it early. Um, I'm going to go through treatment. It's going to be fine. I got this. And I really had to, I was going to say, I really had to search inside and pull to the depths of myself for some determination. But the truth is, I had just come through all of that dealing with my mom's Alzheimer's. Um, so I knew that I had strength. I knew that I could just buckle in and get it done and just move, just keep on moving. Um, and that's what I did. And it's very strange to describe because it's not like I was thinking positively. I was just more in a very focused mindset of this is how it is and this is how I'm going to deal with it. And so getting through all of that, it's very cliche to be like, oh, I went through something very difficult and I want to completely change my life for the course of my career because life is short. Yes, that is very true. And I decided I wanted to dive in and open my own business. And at the same time, unable to give my dogs any sort of dog treat that would work for them, I started making their dog treats.
Necessity is
That's
the
it.
mother of invention. Someone brilliant said that. And so you had a need, you made the dog treats. And then was there a moment that it was like, there's a market for this?
Absolutely, because this was I started launched the business in 2019, 5 years ago, and believe it or not, 5 years ago, you didn't really see a lot of dog treats that had limited ingredients, that was made fresh, made with human food. Now you can get them pretty much everywhere. But what I wanted my treats to do is I wanted them to stand out. I wanted them to be different than what you would find if you went to a pet boutique. I wanted them to each have their own sort of individual personality. So each flavor is shaped um, in a different stamp. Like one treat, the apple treat is the face of a French bulldog. Um, the peas and carrot treat is in the shape of a carrot. I have a treat that is the shape of a rocket and it's red. So it's a red rocket as a play on a red rocket that a dog might get. And it's beets and strawberries. So I knew that I had an idea that could work. I just hadn't, I hadn't taken any business classes. I have a background in theater. I had been in fundraising for 12 years. So starting a business was very foreign to me, but I knew I could do it. And it's actually very funny because I was recommended a podcast, and I can't remember right now which one it was, but it was essentially advice on how to start a business. And I listened to the very first episode, and in that episode, the speaker was telling his audience, really, when you start a business, the thing you need to do is just dive in, just let go and dive in. Well, considering the experience that I had just gone through, I think I had that one down. So that was the first and last episode of that podcast I listened to, because I just needed a guest to be told, you just got to dive in. You just got to do it. And that's exactly what I just did with my cancer diagnosis. I just dove in, and having that kind of a spirit, um, I think I've always had that, where I just sort of jump without getting all of the facts first. But having just come through that with the cancer was all I needed to hear to just launch the business. And so um, I was living in Chicago at the time, so I started the business there. It was 2019, and I was working with dog friendly hotels. My thought was for them to supply dog treats in the room when they have a guest with a dog. I was connected to the Ace Hotel in Chicago, and so they actually started selling my dog treats in their shop. Um, I was with a pet boutique. I was with the local shop that was selling only products that were made in Illinois. So I was starting to really get into that kind of a retail space. And then that's when, like everybody else, or for everybody else, the pandemic hit.
Ah, yes, the rug collectively was pulled out from under us. You had already reinvented yourself, and then you had to pivot.
I had to pivot, and I had it was the week before I had met someone with a hotel, and they were interested in meeting the next week about having the dog treats offered at the hotel. And that's when the shutdown happened. So yeah, I had to completely pivot. So I moved everything online, and just tried to really beef up my social media, uh, try and really use the local business angle in Chicago. Um, and you, with any business, you have to be nimble, you have to be flexible. If things are thrown at your way, you have to either dodge them or figure out another way to get around. And so that's really what I had to do.
Okay, so I started out thinking I knew what this interview was going to be about, but there are so many different twists and turns. This is a story for anybody who's faced a diagnosis that's scary, who's had to reinvent their careers, who had to pivot during COVID, and who's had entrepreneurial dreams. How did you end up in La Jolla or the San Diego area?
During the pandemic, my ex partner got a job in San Francisco. And so we moved to San Francisco in 2021. And I things didn't work out for us. So I moved to San Diego a year ago. And I am so grateful that I did, because San Diego is such a great, welcoming community, and everybody has dogs. Everywhere you go, there's a
It's
dog.
so true.
Oh, people bring their dogs everywhere, grocery stores, uh, everywhere.
Yeah, and it meets such a need in my life because I came here heartbroken after
Right.
several losses, and particularly losing my dog. And, because I travel a lot for work, it wasn't really conducive yet for me to have a furry friend full time in my life. But every time I go on the street or the farmer's market or anywhere, Little Italy, the dog park, there's plenty of dogs for me to love. And what a perfect market for your products. So you got back into in real life marketing your products.
Right. In San Francisco, I things were starting to open up, and farmers markets were coming back. Not a whole lot. So I did start selling product at one farmers market in San Francisco. So I was getting that experience and having the walk through traffic is completely helpful.
Mm.
Um, I have, as you know, I have samples of treats out on the table so anyone with a dog can come by and try them out. I prefer that the dog or the person leaves with their dog with a treat that the dog loves.
Mm.
Um, there are people who come by who haven't brought their dogs, so I'll give them samples to take home because I really want to make sure that the dog is enjoying the treat that they get.
And as a puppy sitter for people, when I bring them Squishy Face and Company doggy treats, they're like, num, 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 num. They're so
Yay.
happy. They eat them up, and you know that you're giving them something healthy.
Right.
So, which brings us to where we are today and the original purpose for our conversation. So you lost your pet.
I lost Rafa. Yeah, Rafa and Roddick, I called them my chief tasting officers, CTOs. So they approved of all of the treats, all the flavors. I wouldn't sell anything that they didn't approve of. And they really were the inspiration to start the company. I mean, I was in a place, yes, where needed a change career wise, and life is short, and I jumped at it. But they were really the inspiration for the spirit and the mission of the company. And to lose Rafa so unexpectedly, just it was really debilitating for me,
I know.
especially, I mean, there were several weeks that I missed at the farmers markets because I couldn't pull myself together to bake and get product ready. Um, but what I'm doing in order to pay tribute to Rafa is that June is my anniversary month. Um, so every June, what I typically do is I'll donate a percentage of sales to local rescues as a way to give back to the community, um, and give back while I'm celebrating the anniversary of the company and celebrating with giveaways, promos, things like that. But this year, what I'm doing is I'm actually fundraising for the National Canine Cancer Foundation, which what they do is they fund research and education programs to help fight cancer in dogs, and look for a cure. So I've developed a fundraising page for Rafa. I at the farmers markets, I'm asking when anyone buys a bag of treats, I have signs up telling about the fundraiser. I ask for a donation if they want to include it in the purchase of their treats, but also on the back of each bag, there's a QR code that will take the person to Rafa's fundraising page and they can donate on their own if they choose. Because, like you had said, having some sort of positive activity or productivity coming out of such pain, um, hopefully will make the pain a little bit easier. But also, I want to do it in a way that is a tribute to Rafa,
Hmm.
and help other dogs at the same time.
I know that you are honoring the legacy of such a beautiful friend. And I feel like they are angels that visit us. I I hate going to the dentist. I am a big baby when it comes to needles. And it's so interesting. Please don't think this is too weird. But I was at the dentist the other day and I needed to get needles. And I was trying to do my breathing exercises because whenever I get stressed, I need to breathe. And I just closed my eyes and I felt like I saw Shasta's face.
Oh,
And it just calmed me down. Because, she would look, I mean, come on, that
look at
face,
that face.
that face. I
So
felt
beautiful.
like she was just looking at me with such love. And I remember always marveling when I would take her to the doctor and she needed to get her shots or whatever.
Mhm.
She would handle it with such grace. She didn't like it, but she just took it and then boom, it was over. And I felt like she's still with me. And I know that that is a comfort to me. I know that this work that you're doing is at least being able to help process your loss in a way that feels productive. And that's why I really wanted to interview you today. What would you say to someone right now who is hurting because they lost a pet that was dear to them?
Well, I mean, I'm definitely no. I don't know. I think I can't say, oh, it gets better because I think I've come around to the fact that it's not going to get better because your pet is such a big part of your life, and they really are
Mhm.
more than just a companion. I feel um, like Rafa and Roddick and I as well, but Rafa and I in particular, because Rafa was my first dog. I had a dog growing up, but she was more of my older brother's dog than mine. So Rafa was really my first dog, and he was such a curmudgeon too. Like I connected with him in such a way. I made him my emotional support animal, so he would travel with me on when I would fly. And during my mom's Alzheimer's, he was most definitely, an emotional support animal. Got me through that amazingly. So if anyone who's lost a pet, I think I would say it's just really, it's not even day by day. Sometimes it's moment by moment. And like you said, they're still here with us in some capacity, I feel. Um, we may not see them. Um, I'm really wanting to see him in a dream for sure.
Mm,
Uh,
mm,
I think Roddick has seen him because I have caught him running around the bed doing zoomies, and that's what he would do every night before bed as he played with Rafa. So I would see him looking off the bed onto the floor, and then he's doing zoomies on the bed. And it's like, are you seeing Rafa? I really hope you are, because that makes me feel really good.
mm.
So I think it's just hang in there, I guess, is what I would say. It's here's a hug. I know exactly how you're feeling. Um, it's hard. It's really hard. And it's a different kind of pain. It's a different kind of loss. Um, with my mom, Alzheimer's, there's only one direction that's going in. And that took quite a few years. And my mom and I were super close, but you're losing that person throughout that particular disease. I lost my dad in 2021, and that was really tough due to heart problems. But losing Rafa, it's such a different kind of pain. Someone mentioned that to me once, and I didn't really get it until I went through it, till I experienced it. It really is a completely different kind of pain that hits you um, in ways that you don't expect. So for me, it's difficult to say take it day by day because it's really down to the moment.
Yeah.
Um, and just remember the memories. I've got these pictures up. Um, I've kept the business going. I'm doing this tribute to Rafa during the anniversary month. Um, Saturday was June 1st. And so at the market in Little Italy was the first time I was asking for donations for Rafa and for the National Cancer Foundation. And someone would donate $2 and I would start to tear up.
Oh,
And it's like, no, I can't cry in my booth. These people don't know, but it's really heartening to see how people do want to help when a cause like this for sure. Um, so I again I would just say try to be as productive as you can, but just remember that animal.
I want to thank you so much. I think you're a beautiful soul. I have loved your energy from the minute I met you. And I,
Mhm.
share this. There have still, I don't even care how long it's been. There are still days where I get choked up when I think about Shasta because of the unconditional love.
Right.
I mean, unconditional love. I don't care. When I would work, she would just stare at me. She was just happy to stare at me. I
Yeah.
have never found that in any other human being or creature. And that unconditional love. And yet the pain, someone once said to me, and the sorrow speaks to your capacity to love.
Mhm.
I honor your capacity to love, Ron. I thank you for sharing your story. And how can people find you if they don't have the good fortune of living in San Diego? How can people find your products and give their dogs healthy treats?
Sure. They can. I appreciate you saying all that. That means a lot. But people can find me at Squishy Face and Co. And it's all spelled out. Um, .com is the website. At Squishy Face and Co. on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok, which I'm starting to do. As I'm sure you know, social media is its own full-time job now. So I'm trying to do a lot more, especially this month. But yeah, squishyfaceandco.com is the website. You can order. I ship across the country. There are customers at the farmers markets who are from other cities, and they have not only purchased treats to take them home to their dog to see if their dog would like them, but they've ordered from where they are from. So it's great. I cannot complain at all, and I'm very fortunate and very grateful that this is happening at a time that has been difficult, but definitely I love that I'm able to raise money for the National Canine Cancer Foundation. If you'd like to make a donation, you can go to their website as well.
So I'm glad that we can connect people to the work that you're doing and also to this fundraiser. Ron, thank you so much for your time today. And thank you, everyone, for tuning into this edition of the Alchemy of Pain podcast. If you have suffered the loss of a pet, our condolences are with you. Our hearts are with you. Give yourself all the space in the world. Don't say, oh, I should be over this by now. No, this is about your capacity to love. Give yourself lots of space and be gentle with yourself. And if you're in a dark place in your life, no matter what you're facing, keep pressing on, because just like that caterpillar in the chrysalis, you're creating strength in your wings so you can fly. And we'll be rooting for you.